Hey girl, hey, it is Hazel here, and it has been such a long time since I have done a nightly Bible reading. But my good sis Shara here asked me to share what our church message was about today, and I actually was able to find a love letter from God in our Thrive Bible that directly related to what we talked about. So let's get into it. All right, you guys. So for my Thrive Bible users, we are going to be turning to page 23, and our love letter today is called Avoid Deception, and baby, it's a message. So, in today's service, our pastor talks about allowing God to dig all of the insecurities and the impurities out of your life to really give you the space to allow you to receive God in his full capacity. But sometimes, I must admit, it's hard for us to do that because we're holding on to people and to things that aren't necessarily meant to go with us into the new season that God is taking us into, which can cause us to be set behind in ways that we never imagined. So recently, I went through 2 seasons of isolation that really helped me to gain clarity and perspective on this journey that I have of getting closer to God. But what I will say is that it is extremely different being on going through a season of isolation that you requested when you ask God to remove things and people from your life that don't align with your purpose or the plan that he has for you, versus when God forces you into that season and he personally removes people and things from your life that you may be holding on to, idolizing or worshiping or leaning on more than you're leaning on him. And we talked about in church today how sometimes it can be so hard when the people that you love don't necessarily love you back, don't support you, or you have people that support you in your face and talk about you and spread false narratives about you behind your back. That can be very gut-wrenching and heartbreaking to someone, especially when you are a genuine, pure soul who wants nothing more than the best for everyone around you. In this particular love letter, God gives us direction on how to handle those situations. Okay, so when the love letter started off, it already had me in shambles. Beloved daughter, I am all the strength you need. As you deal with people who intimidate you, you may be tempted to compromise your convictions, also known as your beliefs and your opinions. Now, how many times have you been put in a situation where you are trying to do things the right way, not trying to compromise your character or your morals, and you have people around you that you thought that you could trust, that you leaned on, people that you considered family or friends, and they were downing you for doing the right thing and making you feel like you were doing something wrong, not supporting you for being who it is that you're called to be, living in your calling. And that can be whether it's in your personal life, your romantic life, relationships, family, friends, work, whatever it is. But how many times have we been put in situations where we feel like we are doing the wrong thing simply by doing the right thing? When you feel uncomfortable or controlled by anything other than my Holy Spirit, I want you to say a silent prayer to me for courage. You're my daughter, and you don't have to compromise a thing. God is telling us you do not have to compromise anything, and that is something that I have really implemented into my life. I am not here to gain validation from anyone. Currently, in the season of life that I'm in right now, I have so many moving parts, but in a positive way. And what happens, unfortunately, when you have an increase of positivity, an increase of negativity comes with it. And it's so easy to really fall into this thought pattern of, what do people think about me? Why are they saying this about me? And really care so much about what the world has to say that we begin to forget what it is that God wants from us. But God is simply saying here, you will get into those situations. We're human, right? We backslide. We have worldly thoughts. But we need to have enough strength in our faith, and we need to rely on God enough and trust him enough that when we get into those situations, we know that we need to turn to him for strength and for courage to pull us back to the side that we're supposed to be on, and to not become self-doubting or self-loathing or thinking that we are less than or not worthy of simply because what people of the world say about us, when we know that that's not true. Those are not things that you would think about yourself or God would think about you, is what our pastor told us today. And that really resonated with me. When people say negative things, would I say that about myself? Would my father say that about me? And if I wouldn't and he wouldn't, then does it really matter? Then it goes on to say, remember, deception never comes from me, but only from the enemy of your soul. It may, and I really want y'all to pay attention here, it may seem easier in the moment to do what pleases others or to protect yourself. But if you call to me, I will create a way for you to remain faithful to me. How many times has your back been against the wall and you're trying to make a decision? Do I stay true to what I know is right? Do I remain faithful? Or do I compromise in this particular situation just to get through? I will create a way for you to remain faithful to me. When you're in those situations, pray to God and he will get you out of them. Don't back down, my beloved. And that is something that I have had to stand strong with, you guys, especially in my professional and my personal life. I have had to really stand my ground when it came to making sure that my morals remained intact, making sure that my ethics remained intact, making sure that my faith to God and to myself remained intact, to make sure that I was still aligning myself with my purpose and my faith life. I had to really set boundaries, hard boundaries with people that I really, really cared about. But when I saw that the motives that they had were not the same that I had, and it was coming from a negative place, I had to quickly make a decision. And sometimes it was hard for me to do that on my own. So I had to turn to God. I had to pray to God. And I cried. That's why I cried in church today. Because the decisions that I had to make, the boundaries that I had to set, the people that I had to cut off, it was all in an effort for me to remain faithful to God and to make sure that I was living my life the right way, living according to what my purpose was. And you have to remember, just because you're where you're at in your walk with faith doesn't mean that the people that you love are at that same walk with you. They may not have the same beliefs issue, the same morals issue. They may not have the same ethics issue. Everybody doesn't want for their life what you want for their life. And unfortunately, sometimes that can cause a drift between you and the people that you love, but you really have to make a decision on who it is that you're sticking with. And unfortunately, sometimes it causes us to sever relationships that we really thought would be there forever. But remember, and we've all heard this saying, some people are in your life for a reason and a season, and they will not be there for the remainder of the time, you guys. And that's something, as long as we grasp that concept and really start to allow that to resonate with us, and we start to live our lives according and know that the only person that is here to stay forever for sure is God, is going to make it so much easier in the decision-making process when we have to do the right thing. So to close it out, in the reflection, it says, even actions taken with the best of intentions will fail and lead to suffering if they're not taken with integrity and truth. So you could be trying to keep the peace, right? A lot of us do that, try to keep the peace. But if you're not using your integrity, you're not using your morals, you're not using your faith, you're not leaning on God to make the correct decision, you may think that you're doing the right thing, but if you're not, it will still backfire on you. It's better that you would quietly allow God to get you through an uncomfortable situation than to say something that you will later regret and pay the price. Remember, in the Bible, we are supposed to be slow to anger. God is the master of navigating our lives if we trust him to lead. This brings me to Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5-6. Lean not on your understanding, but depend on the Lord, and he will show you the right path. It leads me to Deuteronomy 31:8, when God talks about going into rooms and checking to make sure that the room is suitable for you before you even get there, and knowing that God will not leave you and he will not fail you. Treasure of truth. God gives discernment to those who seek it. You guys, I'm not about to cry. I'm probably about to cry. I'll be back. Child, we talking a lot of mess on God's internet right here in front of y'all. But when I tell you that line, God gives discernment to those who seek it, pray to God to give you a vision. Pray to God to speak to you, to give you a message. Be very specific in what it is that you want him to show you. And when you get the message, receive it and apply it. And I think that is why the message at church hit me so hard today, because I have been praying to God for months to remove things and people and desires from my life that didn't align with my calling, that did not align with the path that he had set for me. And throughout that process, it has been very emotionally disturbing to see the people and the things that have been removed, but it's also been extremely emotionally fulfilling because I have been allotted so much space in my life to allow God in. And I think sometimes we prohibit ourselves from moving forward because we're not allowing ourselves the space. Sometimes you're holding on to so much baggage that you can't allow God to pack anything else in. You cannot possibly hold on to everything. You cannot hold the weight of the world as one person. And a lot of times we will prevent ourselves from being able to fully receive the Lord into our lives because we're holding on to things that aren't supposed to be in that next season with us. You guys, the only thing that I can say to you is allow God to speak to you. When he speaks to you, receive the word and apply it. It may take more than one time for it to happen, but he is not telling you anything that is going to put you in a negative place, anything that is going to hold you back, only set you forward. Remain faithful to God. Lean not on human, lean not on yourself. Trust that God has your life and your happiness and your peace as his main focus, and all will be okay. Love you guys. Later.